All right, everyone. Alex, I'm going to actually let him introduce his company, so make sure to do it service. But Alex is going to give us a talk on using Vue.js with Electron, and I'm going to just leave it at that.
1, 2, 3.
Yes.
So, mic better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Having approved mic. All right, so I'm going to be going here, over there, to switch the slides. But hi, everybody. I'm Alex Moikin. We're going to talk about Vue.js, Electron, and using all that awesome tech in the app called Commandeer. So, first thing first,
Your company is Commandeer, yes?
It will be covered on the next slide.
Sorry.
No worries. First of all, we're going to talk about what Electron is. Who here used Electron before? Okay, so it's good. So like about half of us. Then we're going to talk about how we pair Electron with Vue.js. Vue.js, I guess everybody used, right? It's a Vue.js medium. And we're going to talk about how we use all that stuff in the context of a real production app, Commandeer. So, a couple words about myself. So, I'm Alex Moikin. I'm from Russia originally, even though now I'm a US citizen as of a couple of months ago. So, I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Right Balance. We are a software consultancy. So, we basically come in to grow startups and build things for scale. And I'm also CEO of Commandeer, the app that we're going to talk about during this talk. So, what is Electron? So, three things. Electron is a cross-platform framework, meaning that you build your stuff once and then you build it into multiple different platforms. So, you build your stuff once and that thing produces 3 different builds. Well, in our case, it produces 3, but you can go for more. But basically, it's a native app that is a result of compiling that framework. Also, it's for desktop apps specifically. So that's what Electron does. And best of all, it's all stuff that JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So same kind of tech that we all know and love. Vue.js on the other side is open source framework for building single page UI. So why I'm saying UI? Because what's actually pretty fascinating about this talk and about the previous talk of my colleague, that with Vue you don't have to build just websites. So with Vue you can build a lot more. And also with Vue, again, you build all the stuff with JavaScript, HTML, CSS. You don't need to relearn new languages. You use the same exact stuff that you already know, and life is great. So, that being said, one thing I wanted to make sure, so this is how we basically tie things together. So, we tie Vue with Electron through Vue CLI. So, previous gentleman was talking about Nuxt. Vue CLI, you can still generate websites with Vue CLI also, it's an alternative to it. So the way we tie it together through Vue CLI and through using a plugin to Vue CLI called Electron Builder. Basically, what in the Electron ecosystem, the way you build, there are multiple ways to build apps, and one of the most used ones called Electron Builder. So you use Electron Builder, you define your stuff in JSON, and this thing produces awesome apps. Somewhere in between, you need to combat with Apple's code signing and get a lot of hair out. But once you get through this, you're going to have it working. The other option, not using any of this stuff, you don't have to use Vue CLI, you don't have to use Electron Builder too. You can basically do it yourself, which is going to be very custom, but you're going to get through it. And the one thing I want to bring up is a talk of my colleague about using Vue with NativeScript for mobile. So now we're at the place where we have a single framework. With single framework, we can build websites, we can build mobile apps, native ones, and we can now build with Vue hooked up with Electron desktop applications. So, which is pretty exciting that you can use all this stuff you can write all these products with the same set of tools. So now we're coming into where both of those things meet together. They meet together in the app called Commandeer. So what is Commandeer? So Commandeer is a desktop application. So you run it on your, your Mac, PC, Linux. It's a desktop app built by developers for developers. So me, my co-founder, and two of our Vue devs, we basically experienced a lot of pain dealing with AWS, dealing with the cloud, and you got to click through, log in through, all the AWS management console, and all this workflow is very inefficient. So we came up with this app. Then simplified cloud management, that's what the app does, and most importantly, it is available on the Mac, on Linux, and on Windows from a single code base. So basically, the same code base, it's the same exact thing. We write the same components for all three apps, and once the release time comes in, we then run the whole release pipeline, and we got it all. So how's it all possible? It is all possible with the coupling of the two, which is basically Vue coupled together with Electron. So I could have put together a lot of beautiful code, but instead of that, I'm thinking we can do a little demo, and then we can see some actual code, which might be better. Your folder, and you do yarn electron serve. The stuff builds, and this is all Webpack. So the same stuff as in the website. It basically hot reload stuff as you type in. But even though it doesn't work, it still allows you to work. So, which is a beautiful thing about JavaScript. JavaScript doesn't work. It makes its best attempt at working, and whatever's working. Whatever's not working is not working. But it still runs. So while it's building, as you see over here, this one is a regular Vue component over here. So this particular one is S3 page. So this is a page that helps you managing your S3 resources. So with that, it's the same exact thing. So we're using Beautify, so you will see a lot of vFlex, vLayout, and all that other stuff. We are internationalized. That's the word for it. So basically, the same exact stuff that you write, it's the same exact thing, and we have the same, components over here. Code is over there. You can even get to the bottom, and then you have a style. So same exact Vue stuff, exactly the same thing. So where is it different from the website, and how is it, where the difference comes in? So the difference comes in the setup. So one of them is Electron builder JSON. That's the file where you define your JSON configuration for building your apps into target platforms. So for example, if you want to build for your Mac, we build in two different distributions. One of them is DMG. Basically, the way it all works is we have a website. It's all, and Electron Builder is great because you build it and it uploads your stuff to your target place. We store our builds on S3, but it also uploads files containing the latest version of your app. Meaning that every time you, so for example, in the way it works in our website, it says, hey, there's this version 2.0, we get this version from the file on S3, and then you click hey, you want a Mac launcher? No problem, you click here, we download the Mac app, and then you launch it, and it's all great. So, development environment is super awesome because you have your all tools that you've been using on the web, but built in the desktop great apps, which is amazing. So, basically here you have your dev console on the right. There's also Vue section of it. You can use those tools too. And on the left, that's what the app really is. So that's the application that it's available out there. You can download it and use it anytime. It's free. So what's going on here? This app allows you to first of all add your environments. Let's say you have one login for staging account, one login for dev account, one login for production account, and you need to go see some dev stuff, see some production stuff. You need to log out, then log in. This is very annoying experience, but here you can enter, hey, here's my dev account. You put in your keys. We're also going to do the Arc integration and different means of adding the keys. And more importantly, you can start adding your services in. So Commandeer basically gets your AWS, gets all your external services, and allows you to manage all that stuff from a single app connected, in a single account. So you then have a Commandeer account, and you can switch, between them and do things of different kinds. So this is a dashboard. So let's take a look at the S3 one. So that's the code that we have seen. So this thing on the left is Vue Tribute. So basically the same tribute that you use in a regular web app. So what we do, we basically allow you to fetch the code, and it shows you the code on the right in the preview if that's a code file. If this is an image, no problem. We review the image and we show it right there. You can download the file. So basically that's the app. You can manage your lambdas. These are all your lambdas that you use. We can show you what they're triggered by. So basically the whole premise of Commandeer is that you then use what you otherwise use in AWS, but more. So for example, in AWS you cannot search or do anything to figure out, hey, where's my lambdas that only API gateway calls? Like, no problem, you can search it here and it's not a problem. So then you can switch between accounts here, and that will reload and show all your staging stuff, and we have this whole roadmap of exporting stuff in Terraform, different accounts together, and all that great stuff. So coming back to the Vue portion of this. So what's awesome about this is all Vue, but this is running on your Mac. So, on your Mac PC or Linux, or maybe some other systems are still there. But you see this folder over here? What this folder means is that there's a local, by the way, you guys see this well? So this folder over here contains the path to data, meaning this is something that you cannot use, on the website, because on the website you don't really have access to the local system. So while you're developing sites, yeah, there are like web workers. You can save stuff to local storage and do things like that. But what you cannot do is implement a desktop app where you have all the horsepower of your machine. You have your local file system. You even have your development environment. So one thing that we are doing, we are working very closely with LocalStack. So have anybody used LocalStack before? So LocalStack is a local version of AWS, so you don't have to connect to AWS. It stands up and it acts as AWS services. It's not scalable as AWS, but you can develop against it. So we have like a scanner that scans, hey, do you have anything running on your machine?
Is LocalStack by AWS, or is it?
It's made by the guys. It's an open source project there in Switzerland, and it's actually pretty widely used. It's like 18,000 stars on GitHub, and so it's like if you build backend, if you build for AWS, you at least heard about it. So basically, we work with them to integrate all their admin stuff into Commandeer. But the awesome thing that this thing can scan for ports. Like we can determine what's going on your machine and then help you with your development environment, which is not possible from a web app. But from a web app, you cannot scan any ports. You cannot, write files into a file system. So, for instance, let's see. So,
Can you show out of your can you show us in your code how you access the local
files.
the files, but also just like the Electron Vue integration, actually just getting Electron and Vue working in your code. Is there anything special about that, or
Yeah. So I'm kind of like also showing the difference, because you might think like I can run a website on my Chrome and this is no different, but I'm kind of like trying to get to a place where like this is what's going on. So this is your data folder. All this data Commandeer writes for you. So for instance, every time you let's say you have anything cached, we cache it locally. This is one thing. Like, so for example, if you go to AWS, you will need to, if you go to different pages, it's not necessarily that browser is going to, cache all those resources. We do cache and we invalidate if you refresh. And these are the files that are written by the Commandeer app. So we have all your accounts, your data is right here. We don't need your data, so all the data is on your computer, and we don't need any of that. So this is how you basically build stuff with Electron Builder. You define, okay, I want Linux, I want this, I want that. It is easy to write it. It is involved to get it to build, because specifically the Mac version is you need to have those certificates, and that is very involved. So for anybody who's done, I see big eyes over there on the back. So it's yeah, it's intense. But anyway, this is what's going on. You do have your package JSON. We write everything in TypeScript, so you can hook in your TypeScript, no problem. The file where it all starts, where it basically just kind of like once you launch it, it starts. It's called background. Yes. And you want to switch hands? No, okay. Great. So, background TS file. This is where you basically configure your main window. Main window pops up, and the main window loads all the stuff from Vue. So that's where you get your menus to. Like for example, the file menu over here. By the way, this is the file that we just opened from local. But all this menu over here is configured in background TS. So here we go into like basically all the menus are configured here. Main thing, you create your browser window, and the browser window is this window. So this is your main window, and then you can reference that window inside of it once you do certain like dialogues. You can pop up dialogues separately, or you can pop dialogues embedded in there. So for instance, if you go in here, and if you would like to download this file, click download, this dialog pops up, and the way it pops up inside the app is you say, hey, here's like, hey Electron, give me this dialog, but here's the window to show this dialog on, and it pops it up. So the main window is over here. You see there's a lot of Webpack magic where it plugs in those dev tools. So if all the dev tools are only available in production app, what's that? Not in production, but before. And the rest of the stuff. So we also hook in what is called the auto updater. Auto updater, every time we push the app to S3, the app itself, when it stands up, it calls to S3 and say, hey, what's the latest version? And if the latest version is greater than what you've got, it automatically downloads it, so you always have the latest version.
Did you write this, or is this?
We did write that.
Oh, so this is
well. So the boilerplate generated. So we did Vue CLI, which generated the boilerplate kind of like Webpack, Vue, Electron bundled together with TypeScript, I think. So and after that we started basically adding on and then implementing the app. But the things that we added was like we added all the menus. This is kind of like app specific. We added the logger, Electron updater, this npm, the one that updates the app in when new versions come in automatically, we put it in ourselves, and things like hooking it up. This is this one specifically what actually calls the update. That's what we written. So regarding S3, so let's say we want to do the file download, right? The button that I just clicked. So this is a button, the button, the icon inside of it. So it's very similar, very kind of like straight up Vue stuff. And once download is clicked, we go in there. We say, hey, what's selected? We check the selected item. Now we pop up that dialog that you've seen. So if you click here, you see this dialog popping up. So for example, if you want this dialog to not be inside the window, I think you do this, and it will, build up. We'll see it popping up separately. But you get the location, and here you can write into files. So that's the thing. So you have access to pretty much all horsepower of your
local machine. And the premise of Commandeer is to help developers to develop stuff faster. So you don't need to go into cloud interface and click 10 buttons. You can have it right there, and it works a lot more efficiently. So let's see if that change actually works. And yeah, so you see this thing is already separate because we didn't pass the window object in there. So that's why it didn't. It's not separate. But if you pass this here, it will be basically attached all your Electron specific stuff in what's
Do you have questions along the way? So you're getting a lot of.
Is it hard to learn all those methods with Electron?
No, actually the API is pretty straightforward.
Between platforms, are they?
It's the same functions. So that's the beauty of it. It's the same exact API for everything. It pays for wrappers. Yeah.
Because everyone's super focused, it's good. I can tell there was like looks and like you got questions.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt. All right, so basically, yeah, that's what's going on. Our website is also in Vue. On the side now, basically, it's same exact stuff. We have it's all in TypeScript, so we do have types, which is great. Pages, here we go. So let's say this is like our blog page that renders a blog, same Vue stuff. And if you go here on the blog, this is our blog, and this stuff is all written in Vue. And what's also pretty fascinating, we're able to reuse some of our code from website into the app and from app into the website. So basically, the way it all works is we do it through common. So this common code is sitting over here, and we hook it up through NPM. And that's basically how we get all the code bundled in. So yeah, that's what's going on. So that's the app, and let's get back to the presentation. There's like a couple more.
That was page 2.
Page 2?
Yeah, okay, presentation.
Page 2?
I'm just joking. Like, you just started. You still got some more presentation.
Yeah. We're gonna hang out here for a while. No, that's pretty much it. So just to recap, what happened is we talked about what Electron is. So we talked about how we can plug in Electron with Vue.js together, and how we use it in the context of a real production app Commandeer. I want you to I want to leave you with one thought for today. Is I encourage everybody to rethink the way we all do things today. So, and the reason for this is that you got to always challenge the status quo in order to innovate and implement new, use new tech and be more efficient as developers. So, for example, building desktop apps. This is my first desktop app at all, period. Once I dove in, it was a completely new, new ecosystem, which is also, quite, enjoyable to work in. They have like a lot of interesting names connected to, chemistry, and they have proton, electron, neutron, and all that other stuff. But the main important thing is that there are always ways to do things better. And we started this project with just basically building an app for ourselves, where we just got tired of following multiple steps, where we could just do things a lot more efficient. And went ahead and built it, and we put it out there. We're getting a lot of traction. So we're out live for about 2 months. Over the course of 2 months, we have over 800 people on the site, about 150 users in the app. We made no paid advertising at all, so it's all built with our own bare hands. I didn't raise any money, so people love it. People pinging us, emailing us, one guy emailed us about caching. He's like, "Oh wow, this is great, but can we cache the call so we don't hit AWS multiple times?" There's a lot of stuff going on, and all this stuff is possible. It's because we sat down and we're like, okay, this is just ridiculous. We gotta fix it, and that wouldn't happen. We could have just sitting down and still used the same tool set, but instead of that, we decided to rethink. And that's what I encourage everybody to do, is just to sit down and rethink exactly how to do things. So yeah, we're at getcommandeer.com. So you can download an app over there for free. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all this good stuff. And thank you guys.
If any questions, please.
How long did it take you guys to get up and running? It looks amazing.
Thank you. So we've been, we started about like 4 to 5 months ago. So again, we built it for ourselves, just using this internally, and then just kind of can't stop building it. And yeah, just building it. It's there's 4 of us. There's me, my co-founder, and 2 developers. So in Russia, we're building it up, and yeah, things are going crazy right now. So we have like users from United States, a lot of folks from India, Europe. There are some folks from Australia. So we also put that stuff on Hacker News. People also like read up from that, ask questions. Like some of those folks were like asking, hey, we're using Okta at work, so when is that coming? Okta integration. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's fast.
Yeah. Well, it's basically the beauty of this is, and that's why the intersection of Vue and Electron and all this stuff is so fascinating, because I mean we've been building Vue stuff for quite some time, and so Vlad Smirnov, my colleague, so he gave a talk on this meetup about using native script, and with native script and Vue we also built like I think we have 2 apps that we built in that tech. So this is all Vue, and then also we built Vue on the web for quite some time. And at this point, we were like, okay, let's just throw it all together. Now we have a desktop app on Vue. So I think the reason why there's velocity there and speed of development is twofold. So one of them is we are developers, so we feel the pain. In fact, actually, we don't really have like a Jira backlog or something like that stuff. We literally have people implementing what they want, and they feel the pain, and they go in and they're motivated to do this. But also, what's more important is it's basically the same tool set that we're able to bring on, and that connects to JavaScript ecosystem in general, which is one of the biggest ecosystems out there, where we can use pretty much any NPMs in the world. So that's, I think, where the power comes in, and it's basically great. And we're going to open source a lot of fun stuff too. Like we have a repo, so the same as we use a lot of open source projects and NPMs right now, we're going to give back. So we're already going to start that process.
Were there any specific code questions that if you wanted to dive in and ask me sort of code stuff? Whichever economy side they wanted to ask.
How about did you play with different CSS frameworks before you settled on Vuetify?
Vue Material, I think that's the one that we've tried before, and then we tried Vuetify, and the guy who's behind Vuetify is makes great improvements, and in fact, actually, we connected also. I told him, like, hey, let's collaborate. So that's where we kind of stuck with it, and we see more stuff coming in there. There are a lot of great frameworks out there, and they're also great. But that being said, that's the reason we kind of stuck with it. Is there's the second version. We need to upgrade over there, and there's a lot of good stuff, and we like those components a lot. That's probably the reason why.
I have a question.
Yep.
The applications is interacting locally on the desktop level with a local version of AWS, right? What is the name that you have there?
Local stack.
Local stack.
Yeah.
Now, are you accessing the API through native API, local level API, or a REST calling every time you do your queries?
So the beauty of this is that So here we go. This is the API call to get an object from S3. So we do S3 get object. We compose the AWS SDK request. Then this is the AWS client, and in client we do get object, pass the params, and call a promise, and that we got. So the beauty of this is that all this stuff here is the same call to your local stack. Because local stack, what it is, it's basically local version of AWS running with the APIs sticking out, meaning that you can use local stack and use your local AWS in the same way as a remote AWS. In fact, you can use it the same as any other AWS account. And we're going to add more. So, for example, right now we have Algolia, which is this search. We've been using that search also quite a lot. And if you want to add your environment, you can add your Algolia keys, and we can start showing all your indexes.
Yeah, I mistakenly thought that local stack was a dependency on the application, but it's not. It's just another.
Not necessarily, but that being said, we are working with local stack guys to make installation also easier. For example, there's multiple ways to install local stack. You can install it as a Python module. You can install it as a Docker container. So what we do is, what we're going to have the install button. You click in there, and then we choose, okay, what do you want to do? Hey, looks like you have Python. You want to do it through Python, or you want to do it through Docker, and then we're going to go from there. So yeah, like basically what we're going to do, we're going to do more admin features while local stack folks, they are working on the very core of the product. So there's some like collaboration there. So another thing is that we also document a lot of stuff. So for example, like all the docs, they lead to docs, of things you work with. For example, those docs go directly to local stack. But let's say you want to see what's going on in S3 and how you use, Commandeer, you can click on docs, and then we have documents over there about Commandeer on the site. So basically, kind of follow the best practices there, where we write a feature and then we document stuff along the way. We all work with APIs that don't have documentation. It's not fun, but yeah. So yeah, that's basically the thing. It runs on, that's the concept. You have, like, it's not an app where you connect your stuff and then that connects to our backend and then we get your data. It's the stuff that runs on your computer, and that app allows you to do whatever you used to do, but faster.
Got it. It's clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
It's pretty
Yeah. Awesome.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you.
cool.
Before we go, I just want to give a round of applause to our awesome organizer.
Yeah.
Great meetup, and so thank you for
Thank you
organizing.
for great time. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All right, guys, that was pretty cool. Really awesome. Thanks so much for built.
Thank you.